Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service through a unique partnership with Alaska Public Media. It is Thursday, August 4th, 2022. As always, if you have any questions or you'd like to pass along an interesting observation or photo, you can reach me at peter.chan@noaa.gov. And looking across the country today, if you would like additional weather information on top of what I provide, you can go to weather.gov. That's the National Weather Service's presence online. It'll bring up a map of the continental U.S. You point and click anywhere on the map, and it'll bring up a forecast, any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. Today, we're looking at heat advisories along the East Coast. We have flood watches that continue parts of West Virginia back into western Kentucky, southern Indiana. In the nation's midsection, those areas of orange are heat advisories. Up to the north, Montana has red flag warnings for dry and breezy conditions that would have critical fire weather conditions. And then back to the southwest, much of the southern two-thirds of Nevada under flash flood watch. Scattered storms have the potential to produce heavy rainfall and flash flooding. But here in Alaska, we're going to watch for the potential for some elevated surf as we go through Friday into early Saturday along the northwest coast, up through Kotzebue Sound and areas surrounding the Seward Peninsula because of a cold front that's going to move through and shift winds around to the northwest and make gust at times over 30 miles an hour. Surf could be elevated by, a foot and a half above normal. A winter storm watch has been issued for the eastern Brooks Range, where heavy snow could fall, especially above 3,000 feet. The snow levels will come down to around 2,000 feet, but heavier snow is possible in those higher elevations, as 6 inches or more could fall there late Friday night into Saturday. Rainfall could be locally heavy, 1 to 3 inches, common there along the northeastern Gulf Coast and the far northern Panhandle, maybe a little more along some of the coastal mountains with an atmospheric river. I'll show that coming up. And then these wetting rains and cooler temperatures that we're going to experience here into the weekend and through much of next week will effectively end what has been a very active fire season here in the state of Alaska. Dead Horse this afternoon up there along the north slope near the Arctic coast, mostly sunny, lower 70s. Warm temperatures have spread that far north. Enjoy it because it's going to be coming to an end. Imanak is seeing cloudy skies, a few sprinkles. An area of low pressure is approaching Norton Sound. It's passed through St. Matthew Island and is now entering Norton Sound and will be bringing some rain showers across the southwest there. Temperatures in the lower mid-50s. Sand Point down there along the southern portion of the Alaska Peninsula is seeing some light rain and fog associated with the frontal system currently working its way along there. Low pressure is just southwest of you, and that low is going to be riding up on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula on up into Cook Inlet as we go through tonight and during the day on Friday. That's going to spread more clouds and steadier rains into Seward as well, and eventually up toward Cordova and then eastward toward Yakutat as we go through the day tomorrow. Seward, by the way, yesterday on Wednesday, had the state's high temperature at 80 degrees. That's the second time this summer I've seen them hit 80. 60 though now with a few sprinkles. There's the winter storm watch that's been posted for especially later Friday night into the day on Saturday. The eastern Brooks Range elevations down to 2,000 feet. We'll see snow. Heaviest snow will fall at and above 3,000 feet, where as much as 6 or more inches of snow could occur there later Friday night into the day on Saturday. So stay tuned for any upgrades to a warning regarding that watch. Now, fire danger has been improving across the state. Now we have only an area of high fire danger, primarily in the normal warm, dry spot there in the Yukon Flats, and that area will continue to diminish, especially as we go through this weekend with the wetting rains and cooler temperatures that will overspread that region as well. So I think we can safely say, as well as our meteorologist over at the Alaska Interagency Coordination Center, who really zero in on the fire weather, that the fire weather season will be coming to an end here this weekend. Quick, wanted to throw in an image from the James Webb Space Telescope. It's been sending images now back here to Earth since about June. That's an image of what the telescope looks like on the left. And here we have a spectacular image of the Cartwheel galaxy that is some 500 million, that's 500 million light years away from Earth. It takes the light that long, 500 million, 500 million years to reach us, and that's how that galaxy appears to us now, because it's taken that long for the light to reach. It's believed to have been created when two galaxies collided together, but a magnificent shot captured by the James Webb Space Telescope. And looking at the satellite imagery, you can see the moisture riding up the Alaska Peninsula now into the western Gulf. Low pressure center is still there just south of the eastern Aleutians. It'll continue up along the south side of the Alaska Peninsula on up into Cook Inlet. We have another low that's between Nunavik Island and St. Lawrence, heading up into Norton Sound, and then a cold front coming across eastern Russia. That cold front will bring in some colder air, especially to the northwestern portion of the state, as the southern low, currently working its way up through the North Pacific and the eastern Aleutians, will move up in just far western side of the Gulf there into the Cook Inlet, and then kind of sit there over Prince William Sound by the time we get into Saturday. So later tonight into early Friday morning, we see the low there kind of up there toward the west side of Cook Inlet, warm front extending ahead of it. There's going to be a push of deeper moisture work its way into the north central, northeastern Gulf, so there'll be some heavier, steadier rains developing Friday there, especially east of Cordova in the vicinity of Yakutat, and then spreading into the Panhandle. Meanwhile, to the northwest, we see the cold front slowly advancing southeastward. It's not going to roar in here, but it's going to provide enough colder air across northwest and northern parts of the state here early in the weekend that we could see snow in especially some of the mountains there. The eastern Brooks Range is where we anticipate some of the heavier snowfall to be. And by Saturday, we still have that initial low just kind of sitting there around Prince William Sound, and then back up through the central eastern Brooks Range is where the snow will be falling, especially at and above 2,000 feet. And we have a reinforcing system, eastern Russia, that will rotate on in and bring another round of precipitation here by early next week. So an active, cooler and wetter pattern that we can anticipate. Lows generally in the lower 50s across all of south central areas and into the Panhandle. Temperatures obviously will be cooler with a cloud cover and periods of rain or showers. Highs upper 50s to lower 60s most areas. Saturday morning with the cloud cover, we may see some upper 40s to near 50 there in through south central areas. The Panhandle may be slightly milder, mid 50s. And temperatures Saturday afternoon, not as much rain. It won't be as widespread. The heftier rains or more steady rains will be over the Panhandle with highs upper 50s, low 60s there. And we can see a few lower 60s, especially western Kenai up through Anchorage and up toward Talkeetna. Back through the north, lows upper 40s near 50 in the Yukon River. Still lower 40s along the Arctic northwest coast. Friday afternoon, squeaking out those last really warm temperatures up there. Dead Horse on over to Kaktovik could be at 60 plus, especially down toward the Yukon Flats. Eagle still 60s to maybe a near 70, but cooling off 40s. Seward Peninsula, northwest coast. Saturday morning, we see the 30s starting to come back in there along the north slope, Arctic coast, Brooks Range. And temperatures will definitely be cooler across the north with highs only near 40 degrees, upper 30s to lower 40s. Still could squeak out some 60s though, Yukon Flats down toward Eagle and Northway. And then across the southwest, lows Friday morning, upper 40s, same thing going down into the eastern Aleutians along the Alaska Peninsula. And then Friday afternoon, we're looking for highs with a cloud cover, showers. Pretty cool. Doesn't matter pretty much where you are. Imanak, say Bethel. We're looking at highs only mid-50s at best or so, and 50s extending out again into the Aleutians. Lows will be a bit cooler Saturday morning, 40s there across, mid-40s across the southwest interior, upper 40s to near 50 down the Alaska Peninsula. And then Saturday afternoon's temperatures again will be cooler, generally in the low to mid-50s across much of the region, maybe a few upper 50s as we slide on down the Alaska Peninsula, Chiknik down toward Cold Bay and perhaps Dutch Harbor. So looking at the extended temperature outlook by the Climate Prediction Center, August 10th through the 14th, leading up into mid-month. Pretty good likelihood of below normal temperatures across most of the state, centered On south central areas, Anchorage on up toward the central Alaska range. Obviously, it'll snow in some of the higher elevations there of the Alaska range. Precipitation expected to average near normal most areas with the exception of the far east along the Alcan border. We could see precipitation average perhaps a little bit above normal there, Northway on up toward Eagle. But the big weather story of just this pattern shift here going through this weekend into next week is the cooler temperatures combined with the wetting rains will have effectively end a very active fire season for 2022.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
It's now time to take a look at your aviation weather. If you have a flight planned Friday into Saturday, there are a number of weather systems coming together to especially impact the Gulf Coast region up into the interior. One area low pressure will be riding northeastward today on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula up into Cook Inlet. Low pressure developing there and then moving into around Prince William Sound by Saturday. Atmospheric river deep area of moisture will be nosing right into the northeastern Gulf, especially around and east of Cordova through Yakutat area where 1.5 to as much as 4 inches of rain could fall, especially there in the coastal mountains. Back to the west, low pressure will be moving into the Norton Sound with a cold front dropping southeastward from eastern Russia and the Chukchi Sea. That's going to bring in colder air into the backside of the system. Snows will be possible across the Brooks Range Friday night into Saturday, 3 to 6 inches above 2,000 feet, so aviation interest there, especially higher elevations of the Brooks Range. Be aware of wintry weather Friday afternoon into Saturday. And widespread IFR conditions there along the west coast Friday morning as well as along the western and northern Gulf. For Friday afternoon, we'll see IFR conditions central Alaska range down through Prince William Sound along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the northern half of the Panhandle. Will be some locally heavier rains where that atmospheric river noses right into the northeastern Gulf region. On the west side of the state, IFR conditions in the wake of that cold front, northwest, north winds, higher surf along the northwest coast there, Kotzebue Sound. And then as we go into Friday night and Saturday morning, we look for IFR conditions along the north slope, spine of the Brooks Range Arctic coast. Also IFR conditions continuing there in the northeastern Gulf Coast, northern Panhandle, and areas south of the Alaska Range especially. Again, that snow potential, especially Friday night into Saturday morning there along the Brooks Range. You can see artifact of that still with IFR conditions anticipated along the spine of the Brooks and the north side of that into the north slope. Also pockets of IFR continuing north central Gulf and parts of the Panhandle. And looking at Anaktuvuk Pass, MVFR conditions are expected to hold during the daylight hours Friday as well as at Adigan Pass, but both of those passes will become IFR Friday evening and for Friday night. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR conditions early Friday, becoming MVFR during the afternoon. Same thing at Randy Pass, IFR in the morning, becoming MVFR later in the day. Windy Pass should generally hold on to IFR conditions, pretty steady flow of moisture riding up there through that pass. Isabel Pass, IFR becoming MVFR. And Mentasta, one of the last areas to see the moisture move in, VFR early in the day becoming MVFR. And then Tanita Pass, as well as around Portage, deeper moisture. Expect IFR conditions throughout the day on Friday at both locations. Further east, Chilkoot and White will see MVFR conditions becoming IFR by Friday evening and certainly Friday night as some of that heavier precipitation, lower cloud cover moves into the region. Upper level, or I should say jet stream level winds coming up just next, but freezing levels are lowest at or below 6,000 feet over the western interior associated with that mid-level low. Also, we have higher freezing levels upwards to 12,000 feet out over the Gulf ahead of this system with colder air coming in on the backside across the Chukchi Sea, eastern Russia. Icing, considerable moderate icing will be possible along the northwestern, north-central Gulf, as well as back up to the Alaska Range, 10,000 to 18,000 feet. Out over the Gulf, 14,000 to a flight level of 22,000 feet, where that air is a bit warmer. And then back to the north and westward, the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, we expect considerable moderate icing possible, 8,000 to 14,000 feet. Jet stream level winds at 30,000 feet. We have a core of 100 to 110 knot southwesterly winds there over the western Gulf and just on the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. Backside in through the northern Bering, northwesterly 90 to 95 knot winds at 700 millibars, 9,000 feet, a very clearly defined 55 to 70 knot west-southwest jet coming up through the Gulf into northeastern Gulf Coast and finally southern Yukon ahead of this system. And then as we bring it down to 3,000 feet, we see that atmospheric river, just kind of the bottom end of it, 40 to 50 knot west-southwest winds there out over the Gulf with the low situated near Prince William Sound. This translates to the potential for some significant turbulence there in through the western and northern Gulf Coast. Could be isolated severe turbulence off of Kodiak Island southeast of the Kenai, surface to 4,000 feet, and then a band of moderate turbulence right along the Gulf Coast, trailing off to some isolated moderate turbulence. But otherwise, have a safe flight if you are able to get out.
Hey there, moon watchers. We've got a supermoon next week, and that kind of brightness makes regular stargazing tough. But if you watch the moon all week, you can follow it through 4 constellations. Let me show you. Hit the darkness and face southwest at 9:30 on Wednesday. The moon will be squarely or roundly in the constellation Virgo, marked by bright blue spica. Mark this spot and come back every night this week at the same time, and you'll follow the moon as it travels through Libra, and the next night it'll be in Scorpius with its heart red giant Antares. By Sunday, the moon will have continued into Ophiuchus and then Sagittarius on Monday. Then on Thursday of next week, the moon will be at perigee syzygy and will appear larger and brighter than normal. This is what most call a supermoon. Enjoy the lunar spotting and keep looking up.
Ever been to the beach and noticed litter like plastic bottles or foam takeout containers on the sand? Or maybe you've been to a river or bay where there's a bag or a car tire stuck in the mud on the shore, or a bunch of deflated balloons that say happy birthday floating in the water? All of that junk in the water or on the shoreline is considered marine debris. It's anything solid and man-made in the ocean or Great Lakes that is not supposed to be there. And anything people use every day can become marine debris if they don't dispose of it properly. And I mean anything. The most common items we find when we do shoreline cleanups are plastics. But we also find rubber, cloth, glass, metal, and paper litter. Sometimes the debris is so tiny, like a plastic microbead from your face wash, that you can barely see it in the water. Marine debris is more than just trash in the ocean. Sometimes fishers lose their gear like fishing traps, nets, or fishing line, and it continues to drift through the water, catching animals for a long time. We call that derelict fishing gear, and it's marine debris. Have you ever seen an old boat left behind on a shoreline? Abandoned and derelict vessels are also marine debris. So let's review. Anything we use every day can become marine debris if we don't dispose of it properly or if it goes into the water by accident. Marine debris can be very small or can be very big, and anything in between. But most importantly, marine debris is one of the biggest pollution problems facing the world's oceans and waterways today.
How does marine debris impact the ocean, animals, and me? Would you want to swim in a beach littered with trash? Of course not. And the animals who live in the ocean don't either. The difference is, they don't have a choice. Marine species often get tangled in debris, from fishing nets to six-pack rings. If they get caught, they could get injured or even die. And even if they don't get entangled, many animals mistake plastic debris for food and eat it. This fills their stomach with junk they can't digest. Debris can also damage important habitats, like coral reefs, by breaking or smothering them. Corals serve as the base of the marine ecosystem, and impacts here can be felt all the way to you and me. Plus, plastics have harmful chemicals in them. Fish eat plastic, we eat fish. The question is, can those chemicals harm us? Marine debris also hurts the economy. It costs a lot of money to clean up, and people don't want to go to dirty beaches. Boats and ships could run into large pieces of debris too, or get their propellers tangled. We need the ocean and everything in it, and the ocean needs us to keep it free of debris. What can we do about marine debris?
A lot of the trash that's in our ocean is plastic.
And that marine debris is hurting our environment, economy, and health.
The problem will only get worse.
Unless we change the way we consume and dispose of products. There are solutions,
And together, we can prevent litter from ending up in the ocean. Some people might say,
well, I'm just one person, so I can't make a difference.
but that's just not true.
If each person who creates trash, and that's just about everyone, took action, it would add up to a whole lot of change.
So what can we do?
Well, the ultimate solution is prevention. And we need to keep that as our highest priority.
We can reduce, reuse, and recycle to keep debris out of the ocean in the first place.
You can bring your own shopping bag, drink out of a reusable bottle, and participate in things like a shoreline cleanup.
Join a group cleaning up the beach, or grab some friends and clean up your street. It's easy.
Be more conscious of how many disposable plastic items you're using. And if you do,
Where are you putting it? In the trash can? Whoops. Or in the recycling bin?
so here's the challenge. The next time you finish using a throwaway item, a bag, a bottle, or utensil, answer the question, where is this going? Because ultimately, when you throw stuff away, there really is no away. It has to go somewhere.
So keep asking yourself this important question.
How will you keep your trash from becoming marine debris?
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back to the final segment of our show. Before we get into the marine weather, let's check today's sea ice edge. And there continues to be some ice, probably the remnants of shore-fast ice up there along the Arctic coast north of Prudhoe Bay. And further north, we have areas of pack ice. Also, we still see some ice lingering along the Russian coast, but otherwise a fair amount of open water there through the Chukchi Sea. And as we expect through mid and late summer, we'll continue to see a gradual melting of this ice. Winds are going to be picking up out of the northwest and west, though, across the Arctic region there as we go through the next couple of days. In the southeast, though, look for some stronger small craft winds, gusting as high as 40 miles an hour there at Petersburg, and we're looking at waves of 5 feet, Petersburg north through Lynn Canal. Along the outer Gulf Coast, we're looking for southwest winds anywhere from 25 to 30 knots, especially Yakutat. They become more southeasterly as you go west of there. Waves running generally 10 to 11 feet, a little less so down toward Craig, where winds will be southwesterly 20 knots with 7-foot waves. On Saturday, we're looking for winds to continue 25-30 knots across the northern inner channels with waves 5-6 feet. South winds 20 knots. Metlakatla, Ketchikan with 4-foot waves, and then winds will be southwesterly along much of the outer Gulf Coast at 25 knots, waves 10-11 feet, though a little more southerly winds as you go further west there from Yakutat westward toward Cordova. Across the northwestern Gulf, winds off the Kenai will be out of the southwest 30 to as high as 35 knots just northeast of Kodiak. The length of Cook Inlet, winds are generally going to be from a west to southwest direction, 25 knots, waves 6 to as high as 8 feet. Southeasterly winds, though, 25 knots, Prince William Sound, waves 6 feet. Low pressure will be right over Prince William Sound Saturday, so we're looking for winds to be variable there, 10 knots, waves a couple of feet. But for the northwestern Gulf, away from the Kenai, winds will be westerly to 30 knots with waves 9 to 12 feet. And in Cook Inlet, the entrance, westerly winds 25 knots, waves 7 feet. And falling off to 15 knots there up on the north end as you get north of Kenai toward Anchorage, and waves 3 to 4 feet. Across the Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula, winds on the Gulf and Pacific side will be southwesterly 30-35 knots near and south of Kodiak Island, falling back westerly 20 knots there on the Bering side with waves of 6 to 7 feet, but again those waves will be in excess of 10 to 14 feet there along the Pacific side. For Saturday, winds across the region generally turn around to the west, right around 25 knots. Waves running 7 to 9 feet on the North Pacific and Gulf side, and near 8 feet on the Bering side. Across the Aleutians on Friday, winds will generally be out of the west, 15 to 20 knots, waves 6 to 7 feet on the North Pacific side, and 5 to 6 feet on the Bering side. Saturday, winds across the eastern Aleutians will generally be west-southwest, 15 to 20 knots, waves generally in the 4 to 6 foot range. As we get back toward Atka and Adak, winds become southwesterly 15 knots with waves running about 4 feet. And across the southwest coast, we'll see winds back toward St. Paul and up toward St. Matthew, westerly 25 knots, waves 7 to 8 feet. Winds flowing into Norton Sound, westerly 15 knots, waves 3 feet, turning northerly south of St. Lawrence with waves of 7 feet. On Saturday, winds will generally be southwesterly around 25 knots. Nunavik Island, St. Matthew, south through St. Paul and St. George with waves of 7 to 8 feet. And then generally west winds to 20 knots on the south side of St. Lawrence and into Norton Sound with waves running 4 to 5 feet. Along the lower Chukchi Sea and Bering Strait, winds will be northerly 25 knots, waves 6 to 8 feet. As we get up along the Arctic coast, winds will still be easterly there, east of Utqiagvik, Prudhoe Bay toward Kaktovik. Easterly winds 15 knots with some ice still in place, but where water is open, 3-foot waves. And then on Saturday, winds are going to turn westerly across much of the region, 15 to 20 knots through the Bering Strait. On lower Chukchi Sea, 4 to 5 foot waves, and then westerly 25 to 30 knots from Utqiagvik up into the Canadian Arctic coast as well. And a quick check of the weather map. Friday afternoon, low pressure will be up near the north end of the Kenai, far end of Cook Inlet. Heavier rainfall coming in from Cordova toward Yakutat. We have a cold front pushing, slowing down though on the west side of the state. And Sunday, still that low over Prince William Sound with colder air across the north.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.